Hey, welcome along, Infinite Beings. It's great to have you here again today, here on the Infinite Me, where we're talking all about bringing more infiniteness into your life. You're already infinite. You've already got all your infinite powers, but how do we use them? That's the question. So that's what we're talking about every day, and we're having lots of fun doing that. So I'm Nat. Oh, I got it right. Over there is Mandy.
Hello.
I'm getting good at this, pointing in the right direction because everything's opposite. Yes, so yesterday we spoke, we went back to the lucky dip, the infinite lucky dip, and we pulled out a little card that said, talk about freedom from the inside as opposed to freedom from the outside. So we had a really good discussion about that. We looked at how a lot of people, including ourselves over the years, have looked for freedom in money and relationships and love and all sorts of areas of life, I suppose, and realizing that that's never 100% fulfilling, and really freedom at the end of the day is a feeling, and all of those things, when you're wanting more money or you're wanting better relationships or you're actually seeking, is that sense of freedom, and that can only come from the inside. And you can have that feeling no matter whether you've got no money or even no relationship, or no matter what's going on for you. So you can actually hold that feeling, and that is a feeling that no one can ever take away, that true feeling of freedom. So we talked all about that. So if that is a topic that resonates for you, go back and have a little look at yesterday's topic, which was on the 17th of August.
Yes.
All right. So today, what are we talking about? We have no idea, because we're doing the infinite lucky dip again. So Mandy's got a little bag of notes that we've very quickly written. We've downloaded an idea that's popped into our head, written them on a piece of paper, throw them in the lucky dip, and Mandy is about to draw one today to give us our topic, which is...
Okay, this is a topic that Nat wrote in. So it was infinitely small and infinitely large, the different perspectives of the infinite.
Ooh. I have no idea what I was thinking when I wrote that.
The only thing you wrote to me, well, you said to me about that, was that looking at it from right down at the, I guess, the quantum level, like the actual size, small size, up into the infinite perspective of things, if that triggers anything.
That sort of triggers that. No, I saw this actually written on an exhibition. No, that's fine. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. I saw this written in an exhibition we went to the other day. So we're in Paris, Jodie and I, and we went with a friend of ours, Sharon, to this very cool exhibition where it's almost an immersive type experience. You go into this massive warehouse type room. It's got sort of silo type things in it and all sorts of things like you would see in a sort of crazy warehouse. And the entire floor and all walls actually had projections of different things. So it started off was a series of 3 things. The first thing was Van Gogh, and so all his different paintings and stuff were actually projected onto the wall and moving around, and they became 3D, and it was very, very cool. And then the next one was a Japanese sort of scenario, and they had, you know, waves, and you're under the ocean and all that, like massive fish going along the wall, and it's really, really cool. And then the last one was about the cosmos and the birth of the universe, and that was amazing. So but when we were leaving, I saw the plaque from the guy that actually had done the cosmos one, and that was the one I definitely gelled with. And he talked about infinitely small to the infinitely large, and that's really what his whole exhibition was about. And it just triggered with me, and I was like, oh, I really like that. Like, that really is a sum up of the infinite, because the infinite is from the very tiniest of detail right through to the entire universe and beyond. Like, I think there's even more universes than this one. And to that whole scope of things. And it did remind me, actually, in fact, you just reminded me then when you said it, about a video that we watched. So we went and did Amir Zogi's program, and no doubt you've seen this too, Mandy.
I was actually going to talk about that. Because it triggered me.
So this is a really old movie, and we'll try and find the link to it and put in the description. But it was
Power of 10.
The Power of 10. It was actually by IBM, believe it or not.
Okay.
And it has the weirdest, funkiest, pornographic music that goes with it.
That's
so
true.
try and, I don't know, put other music on or something while you're watching it. But it's really cool. So what it does is actually show two people on a blanket. It's really old, like it's back from the 60s or 70s. So it's really like terrible visuals. But yeah, so two people on a blanket, and it basically zooms out by the power of 10. Right? And obviously that goes really, really quick as you get higher and higher. So it's zooming out from them, and it's just showing you what's out in the universe, which is nothing. Like there's nothing out there. Like it's just space. Then it goes all the way out, and then it comes all the way back in power of 10, power of 10, power of 10, back to the people again, and then it starts going into the guy's hand. Power of 10, power of 10, power of 10 into the guy's hand until you get to the quarks and right inside the atoms. And it shows you there's nothing there either.
Yeah.
And it's like in between all the atoms and the vibrational energy, that's all it is. So it's a really good video. Like it's really quite quirky. But yeah, it was a really good video just to highlight the fact that no matter how infinitely large or how infinitely small we get, there's still nothing there. It's just vibrational energy. And it was it was very cool.
Yeah.
So that's the concept.
Yes. I was thinking about that same video. Thinking about that same video too, because it does just highlight, as you said, that form in that 3D world is not real. So it's kind of, she's already found it.
Thank you.
There's the link.
There's the link. You won't be able to write it down. I'll put it in the description. Oh, it will be in the description because Louise will have done that. Yeah. Yeah. So there's, there you go.
So it's called The Power of 10. So if you Googled that as well, you'll probably find it as well. So yes, but it does just remind you that there is nothing there. So it's kind of a really cool, what's the word? Evidence, if you like. Trying to find the words, not that word, but that's a great word too. Evidence that there is nothing real outside of you. We think it's real, like it's all a projection, you know, through our eyes of what we think is actually dense reality. But it's even, you know, looking into somebody's hand, you look at your body and you think it's real, but it's not even. You know, the microscope goes right inside it, and once you get down to that atom level that Nat's talking about, and the protons and the neutrons, and in between them there's just nothing. Like it is just energy. Everything is just energy vibrating.
Yep.
So it does kind of, to me it was very expansive to watch that, because it just reminds you that, well, if that's not real, then there is no limits really. Like it is, everything is just a projection of our mind. So therefore we can play with it all. So, and yes, okay, in this world we do have a physical body, you know, so we get to play with that physical body, but what's possible when we know that that's even not real, kind of thing. It is like a figment of our, you know, imagination, if you like, that we've projecting out here, and we get to play with it. So you get to interact with it very differently, I feel anyway, when you start to feel into that expansiveness, whether it's, you know, right inside your body at that quantum level, or it is out in that universal level that you were talking about, Nat. Yeah, when you zoom right out.
Yeah, and I think the science, like, to me, this brings in a little bit of the science aspect type thing. And I think the benefit of diving into the science a little bit does satisfy the left brain, the logical part of ourselves that sort of go, oh, yeah, nothing's real. Like I can say that 1,000 times, but do I really believe that?
Yeah, true.
And unless you really embody that, like there's no point just saying it. Like, I know that things aren't real.
Yes.
Unless you really feel it, like you actually feel it at the core of your being, sort of thing, and somehow it's infiltrated right into your cells and everything, and you're going, yes, I know I can live as if nothing is real, and therefore I can create whatever I want. And I think that I've always found like the science really helps with that for me, and that's not for everybody. I know, like this, I do remember, I think we talked about this before, that some people go down the science line and the logical mind line in terms of consciousness and going on their path.
Yes.
And then other people have always just been about the feeling and the energy, like they can feel the energy and all that sort of stuff. And they've always just had a knowing type thing since they were a kid, and they've not had to go into too much processing or too much theory or anything like that. They just get it. That hasn't been me. And I don't think that's really been you either, man. Like we've both, I think we've both had a fascination with the science behind it, just because it is so interesting to dive into. And I know Jodie's quite into that as well. but yeah, it really does help by going into some, like watching these sorts of film clips,
Yes.
as bad as they are, that it really does actually sort of help you embody that feeling of the infinite on the smaller scale to the larger scale as well. And really, when you're sitting there and you are tuning in and feeling that infiniteness, you can feel both at the same time. Like you can feel how small you are in a human body as opposed to everything else out there. And I guess we get a sense of that when we're looking at the stars, particularly, you know, out in places like the outback in Australia, or top end of Canada, or just places where there's no lighting at all, sort of thing. And we actually get the full spectrum of the stars. And I do remember sitting there. In fact, I was talking to somebody about this just not long ago. It might have been Sharon, actually, about doing a trip through the outback in maybe a year or two's time, because Jodie and I have done that, but we've done it separately. And it's so amazing because you can lie there and you look at the stars, because there is literally no light pollution at all.
Yeah.
And it is overwhelming. I remember lying there one night just going, holy crap. Like I just felt almost overwhelmed with the number of stars that actually were out there.
Yes.
And it was just like, holy crap. You just never realize just how many there actually are. Like, and you get to
what we can actually see. So
yeah, that's the thing. You just see a few, you know, you see a little Venus pop up, the first one in the night sky, and you see, you know, the northern light or whatever. But you see all the different ones, and it's like, holy shit. And then you start to see like the satellites going over. You can actually watch them go over, and then you can see even the colors. You know, sometimes you see in the NASA photos and stuff like that, you actually see the spectrums of colors. You can actually see all that with the naked eye, and I was like, oh wow. But I do remember that overwhelming feeling as I was lying there, and it's like, wow, you really can feel quite small in this place at times. And I guess we have experiences of that, you know, like when natural disasters happen, we realize just how finite we actually are in this human body. You don't stand a chance in nature. And I guess that's always the draw towards nature, is like we almost want to try and control it, but we know we can't control it. So there's this sort of push-pull that goes on, of this fascination of being out in nature in big waves, or hurricane chasing. That's one of my big things. I want to go chasing hurricanes. Just storms and stuff like that. Like I have such a fascination for those things. And the bigger the storm, the better, because it's just so amazing. And I think they're the sorts of things that remind us almost of the small infiniteness, like the tiny parts of infiniteness. And I guess the other thing I was thinking is like, it's almost like the devil's in the detail sort of thing. Like it's just the tiniest of details that you might do in a project or your daily routine or something like that. Like it's, if you really tune in, you can just feel the infiniteness in everything. Like even doing the washing up, something really, really simple. If you're totally present in that moment and you're just washing up and you're feeling the water on your hands, the hot water, you're feeling the dishes and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, the infinite is there as well. Like it is in everything. But you just have to tune into it.
Yes. I think that was coming to you talking about the like the fact that there's nothing there when you zoom right in on that sort of quantum level. Just the energy. It was reminding of sort of touched briefly yesterday talking about Bruce Lipton, who is a biologist and specializes in epigenetics, and he looks at how beliefs, well, his groundbreaking kind of work, I guess, is around how our beliefs are kind of almost hardwired into our biology. And this is where, you know, this sort of study has been going into like those formative years, like 0 to 7 years of age, where we kind of are in that theta state, and we are basically taking in everything around us. Like we're just watching and learning and absorbing all that. And that's where a lot of our,
without filters,
that's where our thought patterns come from, and our ways of being and our behaviors. Like often that's all sort of formed in those years. But he also looks at the idea of genetics as well. So this idea that we're beyond our genetics. So there's always been this thought that, our genes dictate how our life is going to be. So illnesses that, you know, supposedly run in families, and that, you know, high blood pressure is a thing that runs in my family, or heart disease runs in my family, or cancer, you know, runs in my family. So all these sort of thought processes that we've had for so many years and science is starting to prove that wrong now. It's just like, no, you can actually change your genetics. And this is what Bruce Lipton's been doing a lot in that area, sort of showing that we're not governed by that. So I was just reminded of that, sort of saying, well, if we zoom into that infinite level and it is just energy, therefore you would assume that you could shift your genetics. Like, it sort of, to me, it kind of makes a bit of logical sense now when I think about it like that. It's just like, well, if it is just energy, I can shift my energy to affect my genes and my DNA then. So it sort of makes sense, I guess, like that you could shift that, and you aren't sort of predestined, if you like, to get cancer because, you know, your 3 generations before you had cancer. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. If we're conscious beings and the infinite is flowing through us at any moment, then we can shift ourselves out of those thought patterns that create those dissonance in our body, if you like, as well. So I was just thinking about that. That's kind of sort of playing with that infinitely small level, if you like.
It's very cool, isn't it? Like looking at the genetics of the body and the DNA and all that sort of stuff. Like they often say that there's certain parts of the DNA that are not switched on, but then there are people on the planet that actually have those switched on, and how much more amazing they are in certain aspects, human aspects. And it's sort of like, surely we have the ability to switch those on if you really wanted to. It's like you could just basically ask to have that switched on. And I've done that before. Like, I don't know whether it worked or not, but I was like, oh, that would be really cool. Like, yeah, I'd like that part of my DNA switched on. And yeah, so there's definitely plenty of kids coming through now that have got various aspects of their DNA switched on. And I guess that is that infinitely small. We're playing now with chromosomes and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, why not switch it on and off, like changing your biology? I remember, you'll remember it too, when we did the course, like that weekend course with Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton, and they did the psychic healing. I just remember, like, I never forget that. Like, it was just so amazing to actually see the footage of that actually taking place. Wherever it was in China or something, where they actually had the people surrounding. The lady had the big tumor in the body, and so everybody was doing the psychic healing, and you actually watched it on the screen,
it's not an X-ray, something like an X-ray, like a ultrasound.
Ultrasound. That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking babies, and I'm thinking what's called ultrasound. On the ultrasound, we actually see it like completely just dissipate.
I'll see if we can find that video, because that is around on YouTube. I saw that not too long ago, so it's
really?
fine. So I'll see if we can find that and put that in the comments, because that's
let's do that. I'd like Jodie to see that too. So that was amazing. That's always stuck with me. It's like, yes, that is definitely possible, like 100%. Feel that
power of tapping into that infinite energy rather than confines of the human body of what we think is possible. Definitely. I was just thinking about that idea of the DNA. You're saying, like, that DNA is so supposedly switched off, and they often call it junk DNA, but it's just that we don't know what it does yet. It's kind of like that's the only reason it gets called that. I'm sure from the infinite perspective, why would it be created if it didn't actually do something for us? Like, we just don't know how to access perhaps that yet, or it's not switched on, as you said. But then there is that concept in science. There's a lot of research now going into telomeres. So telomeres are on the end of the DNA, and they are like little antennas, if you like, for picking up information, I guess. So what they're finding now is that that's basically probably how our intuition works. So that the telomeres are kind of always, like little antennas stretching out, picking up on what's going around us all the time, and we're tuning in, or and adjusting our body and things like that as well. And they're sort of finding that the longer our telomeres are, the more longevity we have. So the more you can basically, like, I guess, lengthen your life or increase the vitality of your life, if you like, by lengthening your telomeres. And there's all different science going into that now, and that's a lot to do with consciousness now. Like, so shifting your consciousness and things actually helps to increase the longevity of your life too, and the quality, if you like, as well.
I agree with that.
But the other thing about telomeres, which is cool, which is what you were saying about that switching on, is they're actually finding that certain genes, parts of the DNA will only be switched on there's like little receptor sites on the outside of the cells that are only switched on when we're in states of gratitude and love. So they're actually finding now that there's, to access like what we would call superpowers, or I guess if you like, there's maybe this junk DNA, like who knows like where this is all going to lead. But they're basically just finding that there is these certain things that will only ever be switched on when we come into those states of love and gratitude. So therefore, if you're someone that's sort of, you know, sitting in a very dark space and having dark thoughts, and then you don't have access to those parts of your DNA, basically, like they're not accessible at that point in time because you're not in that state of gratitude or those higher vibration sort of energy states. So it's kind of so much study now, I guess, going into all this. That's just quite cool that we don't know where this is all going to go, awesome. But it's just so much potential that's just sitting there in this nothingness, if you like. It's kind of quite bizarre that it's all like
so exciting.
But even just that idea of the detail, like you said, it's kind of like wow, that the infinite consciousness has gone to this depth, you know, to sort of create so much detail that we can study all this and find out all this about our physical body and what's actually here in our physical body that we don't even know because we can't see it, like, you know. So but it's it's just pretty cool.
But then you've got, like, if this is how much we know, then the rest of it is how much we don't know yet. Like, it's, and I think
exactly.
You know, as Jodie always says, that's the exciting part, sort of thing. That's the frontier of discovery, discovering more infinite things about ourselves and about our world and the universe, and just stuff we couldn't even imagine right now, I guess. So that's that never-ending exploration. And I think when you really do feel into that, like you sit and look at the night sky and you see like billions of stars, like literally billions of stars, or you feel into things like chromosomes and stuff like that, like going infinitely small, infinitely large, then it does put you in that play aspect because you can't conceive it, because it's so beyond what is normal in human psyche, sort of thing. Like, it's so unfathomable. It's almost there on purpose to get you out of your head and back into, oh my God, like, wow, what else? You know, what else is out there? What else can we play with? What else could we be doing? This is like really cool.
It brings up that thing too around like the ego likes to think it knows all the time. So I'm just thinking about, I was very stuck in this for quite a few years, more than a few years, around this thinking that I knew, you know, everything I needed to know. Not everything I needed to know, not from the sense of like that I know absolutely everything in the universe, but more about probably knowing yourself. So you have a bit of a block sometimes around thinking, oh, I know myself completely. There's nothing I don't know about myself, and I have this awareness about myself and my patterns. And so just that sense of telling yourself that you know blocks you from, you know, even finding out anything more about yourself or moving past your limits, because you've told yourself that you know all your limits, and it's kind of usually not true, because the ego is trying to avoid you from going to those spots so that you have that freedom, you access that freedom that we spoke about yesterday. So I'm just thinking about that, and then the idea of being in the unknown, which is where the infinite energy plays, like, so everything we've talked about, you know, what the infinite me is all about, but this infinite feeling moving through you and following through on that is all about the unknown. It can't be known, like, you'll never get your head around it. But even just that fact of, like, you don't know what's going to happen next, like, that is creativity, that's imagination, it's moving into that space is where we access that potential. But when we come from that known space, we can't access that.
I know anymore about this.
So I definitely shut that down. Like, that was a big part of my coaching journey that I did about 18 months ago, because I would have this thing that I would say I know all the time. My coach kept putting me up on that.
I have actually noticed that.
And she sort of said to me at the time that it could be coming from different spaces too, because she sort of said maybe as a child your experience was negated a lot, and so it's almost like you're saying it to yourself to almost remind yourself that you do know, like you are tapped into your intuition, you are tapped into what's actually going on around you. And so that resonated a lot for me when she said that, because it's like, it's like I was always known something, and now I was getting it confirmed by somebody else, like 40 years later, that I actually knew what was going on. Like, my instincts were correct, and I was picking up on stuff. but it was always negated. So I was kind of, then I doubt myself. And so, but then there was also this, it was definitely also an ego aspect too, about
knowledge itself.
Not wanting to be almost let help in, not because I didn't want to be helped, but it was almost a sense of, perhaps again, coming from childhood, being told what to do all the time, and kind of me feeling it like to want to go a different way. So by someone sort of telling you what to do all the time, it kind of just reinforces, like, God, you don't have to tell me, do you not trust me? Like, it was this kind of a sense of, I know what I'm doing. Like, it's kind of like, you don't have to kind of, like, I've got my own guidance, I can make up my own decisions, kind of thing. Like, it was coming from that space. But then the ego kind of gets a hold of that too, and it turns into this thing like, oh, I know how to operate this, almost a self-righteous kind of, coming from that place. So it comes from all those different areas, but it stops you from moving into that unknown. So that's the whole point that my coach was trying to get across to me, is that the more I keep saying that to myself and keep sort of holding those walls, if you like, around myself, it doesn't let me go into that infinite potential. So I'd had moments of like letting myself go into it, but then I pull back again. So it was kind of learning how to sort of move out of that space and know that the unknown is the area that you can play with it all, rather than thinking like, I know everything and therefore it has to show up in a certain way then, because the universe can't deliver it to me in any other way when I keep saying I know.
You're going to keep recreating the same thing over and over again.
So it's sort of, so that sort of feels like it fits into that infinitely small and infinitely large, because it's kind of just, the unknown is obviously that infinitely large space. Like, we just can't ever get our head around that space, but that's where it feels scary to the ego, but to go into that space.
Like, that's obviously what I felt when I looked at all the stars, and suddenly my ego was like, holy crap, like, it's that big and it's that vast and it's that much potential and that much energy out there. It's like, holy crap. It's almost like I saw it for the first time, of just what was actually available.
Yes.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness. That really is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say hi to Vicky, who hopefully is still here. And she said, hi ladies, newbie here, keen to find out more about the page. Great to have you here.
So thanks for joining.
Still watching. Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. So this page, we're talking all about being infinite. So Mandy and I have been on a journey. We're sisters. We've been on a journey for probably over 15 years now, doing all sorts of consciousness work. And I guess the conclusion we both came to at the end, when we were deciding, we really wanted to speak about consciousness again. We haven't worked together for about 10 years, but we started to really throw around ideas about what we would actually talk about, because we really just wanted to have conversations with each other, because we're always, oh, you're still here. Very good. She just said that. So we wanted to have conversations, consciousness conversations. So we're always doing it anyway. And it's like, oh, we should be recording every time we get off. And I should have recorded. That was really good. So it's like, right, let's record it. So that's where it came to. They really just started with conversations between the two of us, talking about different aspects of stuff that we'd learned and things that we love. So I guess from there we went, what do we actually want to talk about? Like, consciousness is such a big topic. What do we really feel now after such a long, a reasonable journey? And it's like, we both just sort of went, we both feel that we're already infinite. We don't have to go and find it. We don't have to awaken to it. We don't have to do anything. It's already actually here. All we have to do is acknowledge that and start using it. And that's really what all these conversations are about. That's what the infinite me is all about, is that acknowledgement process. And the more that we acknowledge that and see where it's already showing up in our world and all around us in every single day, then the more available it becomes to us, we feel. So
and how do we live that? Like, once you embody that knowledge, what do you do with that? Like, how do you move on that feeling that moves through you and bring that into everyday life? And where does the ego come in and stop you? And how do you move past those patterns? And
what is the ego? Does the ego even exist? Is it just another part of the story? So I guess a lot of the stuff we're talking about, we can really equate to a movie scenario sort of thing, like a movie scene where you have actors and directors and writers and all that sort of stuff. And I guess to have a bit of a metaphor, because it's really hard to explain what the infinite is. So we have to use metaphors, I guess, to help sort of talk about stuff, and even just using languaging, which never really can only ever approximate the infinite. We can never get to what the infinite really is, so we have to come up with different words. But I guess you become the writer, director, and actor in your own movie, and everybody else is also in your movie as well that you can see. So that projection aspect can only, whatever you're seeing in your reality is purely a projection of your consciousness. And so it's giving you feedback constantly. We don't have people outside of us as such. They're actually just there from us, giving us feedback.
Yes.
So Vicky's still here. That's really cool. Makes sense. I just had a conversation with a friend last night. That's really cool. Pretty amazing, really, and I can totally get where you're coming from. Awesome. Yay.
That's good.
That's really cool.
No mistake with the timing. That's how it happens, isn't it? Where you just think these things and it shows up in your consciousness somewhere.
It's quite funny how many conversations we've actually had and somebody go, "Oh, I was only talking about that last night. That's really weird."
Yeah. I just think of that whole evidence thing of just something really trivial, but it was quite funny today. I went for a drive with my husband, and we borrowed my brother's car because we're away visiting family at the moment. And so we're driving his, I don't even know, it's a Suzuki, but it's like this weird name model of the car, and I couldn't remember what the model of the car was. And so I was saying, is it like Kusashi? Like I was trying to work out what it was. And as we're coming home, we were following a car, and I worked out that it was exactly the same model. I don't think it's a very common car either. So it's kind of like, I've never seen that many of these cars on the road. This car was in front of us, and I said to Andrew, that's the same model car. So as we got close and we pulled up to a set of lights, I was able to see what the car model was. And I was just like, oh, that's really interesting, because I literally just asked that question about 20 minutes ago about what's the model of the car again? And it was like almost like a car pulled up in front of us, so I could kind of go, oh, that's what it is. Like it was just really one of those evidence collecting things I just thought was quite funny.
How many times does that happen? I can't think what it was now. Something, I asked a question, and like literally within about 10 seconds the answer came from some weird space, popped up on my computer, or Jody said something. I was like, what? Oh God, serious? Like
you just let it go and you don't attach to it. It's like funny how the universe shows up to see exactly what you need to see or hear, or yep.
That's very cool. So yes, Vicky just that was quite cute. She said, so true. I could listen to you two all day talking to yourself.
We have lots of videos. We do a Facebook Live every day, so if you check out the page, there's lots of videos you can watch of us talking to us.
We've been going now for 48 days or something. 48, yeah, it would be about 49 days.
1st of July, I think we started. So
yeah. So it's 49 days, every day showing up, talking. So for a while there, Vicky, we were coming up with topics to talk about. And then we would get on just before we sort of get on to the live. We'd go, oh, what are we talking about today? What are we feeling?
Yeah.
And we come up with a topic. But sometimes there's a little bit of a struggle. We're sort of like, nothing's really coming to me. I don't know. Like, so Mandy came up with the idea that we do the infinite lucky dip. Where is it there, man?
If you haven't seen it, it's yes.
There's the infinite lucky dip. And so we've come up with different ideas that have just popped into our head at random times, and we've written them down. And so when we get on the live, we start the live and then we pull the topic, so that we have to try and, well, we don't have to try anything. We just go, okay, that's our topic. Let's talk about it.
Completely in the moment conversation.
Totally intuition. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's really fun. It's very playful.
Yes.
So
yep.
It's amazing what comes up, like when you're totally in the moment and you just feel like you're channeling whatever's coming through, sort of thing, like you're really getting out of the way and just talking.
Yeah.
It's amazing the different things that we've actually talked about.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
A few weeks. It's been really cool. Yeah, it's definitely shifting, and I don't know about for you, man, but I certainly feel really shifted and changed since having these conversations every day. And like, it's almost like I can't escape now because I've got to have these conversations every day. So it's sort of like I'm pulling myself up when I'm not feeling in my infinite space and I'm going back into storyland.
Yes.
Like, well, no. It's quite fun.
Yes.
Very cool. All right. Well, we might wind it up there today. We shall be back again tomorrow.
Yes.
So, let us know in the comments what you got from today's session, and what do you gel with? Do you gel with the infinitely large? Do you feel drawn to the infinitely small? Maybe you have a pull one way or the other. I feel over the time always pulled towards the infinitely large. I'm an Aries. That's probably partially to do with that, the pioneer. Yeah, that sort of always interested in astronomy and astrology. Well, not astrology so much, but astronomy definitely, and things like that. Like it's sort of, I've definitely had a pull to that, and I think it's that's where I feel my most infinite.
Yes.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you gel with. Where do you find your infinite in those things?
Yes.
Very cool. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. And yes, thank you everyone for joining, and great to have you along with us, Vicky. It's awesome. Like, so cool.
Yes.
Very exciting. All righty.
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Play infinitely now.